Guthrie Public Library, Library Advisory Board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:09 p.m. And let's go ahead and do a roll call. Brenda Forsman and Jamie Newton. Yes. And Gracie Lorenz, President, and Kevin Smith, Director of Library Services. And we are also grateful for the Friends of the Library Representative Bob Kim. Thanks for joining us today. And I'd like to see here. And so I'd like to establish quorum.
Fantastic.
Okay, great. All right, so we don't have minutes to review quite yet. So we'll go ahead and move forward to the director's report. So I'd like to
Before we do that,
Yeah.
do we want to designate somebody to take minutes for today?
Oh.
Since Sam.
Oh, yes. Would it,
You flip coin.
I don't have a very good track record of
I
this.
can
but-
absolutely take minutes if that's
Okay,
allowed.
let's say if,
I don't mind.
okay.
I don't mind trying it, but I've never done it before and I'm a little scared.
Well, what we could do is you could try it.
Okay.
You can just email them to me,
Okay.
and I will.
It's just that format. Yeah. I can,
We'll just
afterwards, give me your, if I have your email address, I'll send you an example one.
Perfect, thank you.
Perfect. All right, well then, I will turn it over now.
All right,
to
fantastic. Thank you, Graceland. All right, got a couple of things to go over with y'all, some updates. As far as the library concerned, the big one is that Jacob, Gwen, and I attended the Oklahoma Library Association's annual conference in Norman last week. They got to go for the full 2 days. Unfortunately, staffing was a little bit short, so I missed the first day, but I was able to attend on Friday. Gwen and Jacob had a great time. They learned a lot. There are two of our best programmers here at the library. Especially Jacob came away with a lot of ideas that they're going to use in the future. Made a lot of good connections with some of their libraries across the state. It was overall a very positive experience. Also, some exciting news is I believe I've mentioned before that the library's website is migrating from WordPress to a Google site. Becca has been working very, very hard to get that ready to go. It is actually complete. We just need to proofread it before we actually launch it. So, Candy, the assistant director, and I are just going to go through, make sure all the links work, make sure that there's that every mention of the word public library has all the letters like L in it. I'm very
Good
sorry about
idea.
that, ladies. Yes. And so we will be launching that new website very soon. For the city, I want to point out the fact that there was a week in February that we were pretty much closed the entire week. That may be reflected in some of the stats I go over later. Also, got exciting news, the pergola that the Master Gardeners have been planning on putting out front. That one it is either being bought, I think it has been bought, and delivered to Public Works. Public Works is gonna set it up for us, and they're trying to do it at a time, like right before they start doing their big tours. So this is gonna be a metal structure above the convention's house front. It's gonna look really, really great.
That's so exciting, because
Yeah.
I've seen lots of people out there even using the Wi-Fi or,
Yeah.
so it'll be a nice.
And especially during the summer, because it gets a little unbearable
Of course.
with all the concrete and stuff.
And they'll do a beautiful job, I'm sure, on the landscaping as well.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while, but I spoke to some of the Public Works guys when they were kind of looking at the area. Because one of the things they want to do is, there's actually a water spout next to the community garden right there, but it doesn't work. So whenever the master gardeners come in to water flower beds, they have to take the hose in the back where the parking lot is and wrap it all the way around the library. So while they're digging that up, they're hoping that they can actually get that water spigot to work. But yeah, there's some like memorial bricks there. They're gonna save those and relocate them. It's gonna look really nice when it's finished.
I'm sure it'll be beautiful. Okay.
All right, so this is the first time that I had to put in an update at the federal level for our library. So if you weren't aware, last Friday, the president signed an executive order for reducing federal bureaucracy, and he named about 10 agencies that were instructed to go to minimal staffing in order to achieve their legislative mission. One of the agencies mentioned is the Institute for Museum and Library Services. I have received communication from the Oklahoma Department of Libraries, and they anticipate no changes. They are moving forward with all their current projects because the part of MLS that's going to affect us is basically the LISTA grants, which are technology grants that are available through the library, and also state aid, which are block grants that are just passed straight to the states. Both of those are actually covered by the Museum and Library Services Act. So if we're going by the language of the executive order, that should not be changed. But I should also mention that that Services Act does expire at the end of the federal fiscal year on September 30th. So it's something that the library and the Oklahoma Department of Libraries are keeping an eye on. No one really knows how much effect that this is going to have in the future, but it is something that we'll pay attention to. All right, now we can talk about fun stuff, not that other stuff. So, the children's program has gone really, really well the past couple of months. Story time remains hugely popular. We had to cancel one of our story times in middle of February because of closures, and people did not know we were going to be open. We were, but no one showed up. And we were going to do a Valentine's Day, like make a Valentine's card for a family member right afterwards. So we don't want people to miss out, and it turned out that Friday was Valentine's Day anyway, so we moved it to Friday, and it was like the kid or two shows up. We have some regular families that come in on Friday. It'll be a fun thing for them to do. No, all the Storytime people showed up on Friday. We got some cute cards. They made cards for their moms, for their grandparents. They made stuff for the staff. I had a couple on my desk. It was really cute, really, really cool.
How wonderful.
Yeah. Lego Club is still running steady. I actually ran one of the Lego Clubs because the person who normally runs it, Gwen, who I mentioned earlier as one of the attendees to the OLA conference, she was actually the library's representative at the health fair at Charter Oaks. They were doing a presentation on the health benefits of reading. And at that presentation, we had some books to hand out for folks, and we can actually sign people up for library cards outside of the library. This is done through a website. So they signed up people for new library cards. I mostly handled the Lego Club. It wasn't the most well-attended one, but the kids had a lot of fun. If you ever go into the children's section at the library, you'll see little Lego creations on the tops of the shelves. Those are all done by the kids in Lego Club. When they finish their stuff, we put it over there and then we carry it down to the next Lego Club. We had a Pokemon Day for the children on Pokemon Day, which I did not know was a thing until this year. And then my wife and my daughter corrected me and let me know that, oh yeah, Pokemon Days are definitely a thing, and you're the weirdo for not celebrating it. But one thing that we noticed when people were doing Pokemon Day, we cleared out the spring, we had a video game going, all sorts of Pokemon related activities, coloring sheets. Pokemon, yes. So one of the things Jacob noticed when we were doing the Pokemon was that the adults were as engaged with the activities as the children are. So we will probably see Pokemon Day, or we may have other Pokemon related events, but we're probably going to make them family events instead of children's events. That way the adults don't feel left out this time.
I would imagine that a lot of those adults were collectors,
Yeah, yeah.
Pokemon card players and collectors in their youth. So now that they're coming kind of back around and
Yeah.
their kids are getting into them, I'm sure they're quite excited about that.
Oh, yeah. We also had a board game night, which also included video games. That one was a big hit. I think it was yesterday, was our St. Patty's, no, it was Mondays, was our St. Patty's Day mystery, which was kind of a escape room experience. This was the first time Jacob, our children's librarian, had done an escape room. He said it went fine and that he learned a lot, but the kids loved it. So next time he does an escape room, it'll be a lot better. But the kids had a blast. We were actually turning people away that showed up for the program because you had to sign up before.
Right.
A good example of a program that we did, because I talk about there's different ways that we can measure the success of a library program. Like one of the traditional ones is how many people show up. But the teens did a casino night. We only had half a dozen teens show up for it, but they all had such a blast. So if you see some teenagers around town that are wanting to play casino games for money, don't be fooled. They've had a lot of practice and they're going to pay you for everything. I will note that the Let's Talk About It book club, which is part of which is funded through a grant from the Oklahoma Humanities Council. We had rescheduled this month's book club. It's actually going to be in the very beginning of next month. Lights, Camera, Guthrie is still going. Last month, for President's Day, we screened Reagan, which, if you didn't know, was mostly shot here in Guthrie. And tomorrow, make sure I'm at the camera, we'll be showing Rain Man, which is why the chairs are set up the way they are. So I will be here screening Rain Man for folks. Chess Club is another example of not the highest attending program that we have, but we do it very regularly, and we have a group of people that look forward to it every week. I think we've had to cancel it like one time, and we heard about it. So I'm not gonna cancel that one again. Lumen is still doing okay. We have one or two people that steadily come to that. I think next month we're going to kind of switch it up a little bit. Instead of doing looming, on the weeks that we don't do Lego Club, we're going to have a creative art and share sort of thing. That's all ages. All right, going to the collection. February was a month that we did the DVD collection because we did about 100 DVDs that were not circulating. Overall, going through the statistics of the past couple of months, we've had a very, very small decrease in the total collection size, but we're still seeing good starts on it. And just to let you know, as far as the acquisitions that we've had over the past 2 months, it's pretty evenly divided between early childhood, adult, and juvenile material. Roughly 25 or 30% in each of those categories, and then the teen and tween is roughly 16%. This chart was not included, I think this like a couple of hours ago. It's like, I wonder if I can make a chart that shows exactly what we got. And this is like probably the third or fourth iteration of that chart, but I will be happy to include that for y'all later. Now, a chart I did include, and it's on page 2 of the chart, is the card holders. And I totally, until this morning, was going to come in and point out that graph from October, look at that steady rise in library cards. That was until about 2 o'clock today, where the assistant director let me know that she found a function to be able to do mass purges of library cards that have been inactive. So next time we meet, there's going to be
We're gonna see
that drop, which to be honest with you, I knew was coming, but I was so happy. I was like, well, I'm glad I ran this chart Monday for y'all
Right.
instead of right before this meeting. I want to have some explaining to do on why that looks so bad.
Can you bring next to me? No?
So the visits and card applications, there's really nothing surprising there. Like I mentioned before, winter are always a very, very slow month for libraries. Because of the ice and stuff, we tend to close. People do not come in near as often. And actually, no, not included. Do you have a chart of circulations in your packet?
Circulation.
Yeah. If you do not, I apologize. I included it.
Said you go outside.
While circulations did go down a little bit, which is what you'd expect when you have, fewer visitors, the actual percentage of people using Libby and our online resources go up. So people are still using the library even if they can't make it in. The collection continues to be pretty well balanced. I included a chart that kind of shows the percentage of items that are currently checked out in people's homes. If you will notice, the children's stuff, DV is devices, so that's like the hot spots. Those we can't keep on the shelf. We typically have a wait list of between a dozen and 15 folks waiting on that. So I'm actually kind of surprised that it's only 67%. That just means that we either have some stuff out of circulation or it's in transit to go to somebody else. But disregarding that, you can see that the children's collection, that's CF for children's fiction, CNF for children's nonfiction, TF and TNF is teen. Those are the books that are consistently the most checked out. Because of the configuration of the library, if anything, if we wanted to expand the area, children's would be the area we expanded, but we just really don't have the room for it at the moment. I've talked about, when we say we, I mean mostly me and some of the staff, I've talked about maybe relocating the DVDs to another area and kind of pushing some children's material out there, just so we have more children's material. Also, if you go into the juvenile fiction section, those shelves are like packed tight. And I've always been one of those librarians that if something is not moving, I have no problem with withdrawing it and sending it to the book sale and making somebody happy. So even me going through that collection and removing a chunk of stuff has not seemed to make a dent in how tight those shelves are. And a lot of that's the graphic novels. The graphic novels we can't, I don't know if we could have enough space for the graphic novels. So that would probably be a project for after summer reading, maybe in July or August. And we're thinking about a lot of different things that we could do. That's one of the ideas we have. Right. Just real quickly, the programs by type. No big surprise there. The biggest thing you'll see is that while the early childhood programs, which is primarily story time, might only be like 10%, they make up over a third of our attendance. And that's because we pack the little kids up and like stack them up on top of each other in story time. We do have one gentleman who, I doubt he's gonna watch this video, but if he is, he knows I'm talking about him. He comes in every day and usually has something to say about all the kids being loud in the library. And they'll come in on Wednesday, and it's like, every Wednesday, we're gonna be full of kids. I probably would not do anything that requires peace and quiet on a Wednesday, because no one gets any rest on Wednesday mornings here at the library. All right, so I like to show you how Guthrie is performing in comparison to other libraries across the state that have a similar population. At this meeting, I'm just going to highlight some of the computer services that we offer. As you can see, Guthrie has a high number of internet users for our size. Actually, we're just in total internet numbers, we ranked second in the group of 7 similarly populated areas. Really, the only one that we're kind of low in is the number of public computers. And I don't think I've been here when every public computer has been in use. If anything, I wouldn't mind reducing the number of computers, but that's just because whenever the computers break, I'm looking at has to fix it or arrange for it to be fixed. But we are doing really good on that regard, and in the number of visits, we're doing really well, especially when you consider that Guthrie is right in the middle of these 7 groups, and we have like the 3rd highest annual library visits per capita. Really, we're only beat by Elk City and Pryor. All right. Now, are there any questions over anything that I've gone over in the report?
No, I would like to know more information after the summer reading, like if you would expand the children's area. I think that's an excellent idea. And,
Yeah.
And like where the DVDs would go. And
That's some of the things we're working out.
Yeah.
One of the issues is that the shelving that holds the DVDs is not big enough for children's books, because children's books tend to be much bigger and differently weighted.
Sure.
I think we may have some shelving in storage, so we're checking it on that.
Nice.
So there's stuff we can do. We just have to discuss what's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's wonderful. Well, then, does anyone else have any questions? Okay, well then let's move forward with the summer feeding program.
Awesome. Okay. So I don't know if y'all remember, but last summer was the first time the Guthrie Public Library participated in the summer feeding program. Earlier last month, I actually went to a small conference over in Ponca City with some other institutes and sponsors for the summer feeding program. And one of the things I learned was that Guthrie's actually one of the first, like, not last year, but the year prior, the non-congregate meal program. And what I mean by non-congregate meal program is you've always been able to go to these schools and get a lunch, but the rules stipulate that when you go there, you have to eat the lunch there and you can't take it with you. What we do is we have a literal box of food that contain, I believe it is 5 breakfasts and 5 lunches. And we're allowed to give out 1 box for every child under 18 once a week. We had some growing pains with it last year, but I learned from the conference that that year was when they expanded that non-congregate program across the state. So we were one of the first libraries to start offering non-congregate meals at the library.
Oh!
But the program was a big success. We gave out a ton of food. Actually, I had to double the amount of deliveries, food boxes that we were receiving. The main issue that we had is just a lack of space.
Sure.
Especially since we really can't use this room because it's summer reading and this is where all of our big programs are. So we were actually stealing from the Friends of the Library. I don't know if you know this, but behind that wall is kind of the little office area for y'all. That was where we were keeping the meals. We pushed that table back a little bit and we were just stacking them almost up to where that speaker was. It comes from, our food comes from the Oklahoma Regional Food Bank.
Okay.
They're our sponsor.
They put the boxes together for you and everything? Okay.
Yep. I told them how many boxes I wanted, and they came on a truck. Another issue we had was that the truck deliveries were inconsistent. I remember, because the idea we had last year is that we were going to do it on Wednesdays right after story time, because that's when we have all the kids in the library. And then we were going to do it on Friday so people could have meals for the weekend. and I ordered deliveries on like Monday and Thursday. Since we had limited space, the idea was that we would give away all the meals on Wednesday and then get a fresh batch on Thursday and be able to get all of them on Friday. Unfortunately, through no fault of like the food bank or anything like that, the deliveries didn't always come on time, and there was incidents last year when we had to turn people away because we just didn't have any deliveries that day. So we've been working on how we could do this and still because we thought about maybe partnering with a local church, or maybe if the city has a building that we could store them and then just kind of transport them here for it. Unfortunately, that requires a lot of coordination and can't always guarantee, especially during the summer because staffing is a little thin. Couldn't always guarantee that we could get stuff to here in a reasonable amount of time to hand it out to the families. About 2 weeks ago, they did open the food bank, did open up the application. I filled it out. They made some changes this year. The two biggest changes is one, they're only going to allow for one delivery a week. You can actually decide whether or not you wanted deliveries once a week, once every other week, or once a month. Which honestly wasn't that surprising because you really weren't supposed to pick up more than one box per week. Technically, what we told people is you could pick up a box on Wednesday. You could pick up we don't recommend it, you could pick up a box on Friday, but you just had to sit the next week out. The bookkeeping was a little bit strenuous on that, so I totally understand why they're only doing once a week. The one I think will cause us some issues that we're gonna have to think through is that they limited the window on when we're allowed to pass out the food. Last year, on Wednesdays, we handed them out from story time until we shut the doors. And on Friday, I think we opened it up at noon and we just gave them out until we shut the doors. In fact, if we noticed that, and I don't blame folks because the deliveries were inconsistent, if we noticed that we still had a bunch of boxes in the back, we would contact someone from the chamber or maybe have backup post on Talk Around Guthrie that, there were meals available for children at the library and come pick them up, and they were gone. We had tons of people come. Now they've limited the pickup time to 3 hours once a week. Which means that we can't get both the people who work, because if we did it after story time, that ends at about 11:30. We could do it up until 2:30. No one's going to be able to reliably, if you have a job, get up here between 11:30 and 2:30 to pick up those meals. Or we could do it later in the evening, but just missed out on the folks doing story time. I talked it over with the staff, and what we're going to do is we are going to actually hand them out on Fridays from 4:30 or from 3:30 to 6:30. Right, sorry. So we close at 6 o'clock. So it's 2:30 to 5:30.
2:30 to 5:30?
Is that 3 hours? My brains decided not to do that.
That's 3 hours, but anyone who doesn't work in Guthrie still isn't gonna do much of the.
Because we went through this a couple of times, and I am doing a very poor job of remembering where we landed. We're gonna do it from 4:30 to 7:30 on Thursdays. Because Tuesdays and Thursdays are the days that we are open late. That way, people who don't live here in town can still do it. The reason we didn't do it on Tuesdays is because Becca does her teen programs, and generally it's just her and Gwen here Thursday nights, or Tuesday nights. If Becca's doing a program and Gwen is working the desk, she's just going to be doing the food. We won't be able to help people check out books or anything like that. That's all we would be doing. So, doing it Thursday evening from 4:30 to in the evening, it's on the right. Yeah, till 6
3 hours, 7:30.
3 hours, yeah.
4:30 to 7:30.
4:30 to 7:30. We're also in it before we close because we have to turn that paperwork in. We have to keep a log of everyone that receives food and what days they receive.
So how many of these do you do a week?
Last year we gave out about 75 boxes.
75 a week?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason for the 3-hour window?
I don't know. That was just, I don't know if it was for bookkeeping on their end. I did double check that I was understanding it right. It was like once a week for 3 hours. And I got confirmation that that's what they were doing.
And what if you don't give them all, I mean, not that this is probably ever an issue, but what if you don't give them all out? Can you save them for next week?
Oh, yeah. And
Oh,
which is
okay.
what we did last year.
Yeah.
There
okay.
were weeks where we didn't, where we had some left over and we just saved it.
Saved them up,
Yeah.
yeah.
And at the end of the program, they will send somebody to pick up the extra boxes. We did not have any last year, but we were told, because last year we did it just during our summer reading program, which runs through the month of June. And I believe that at the end of June, we still had about a dozen boxes left over. And I asked for permission, it's like, hey, can we do it for one more week so we can get rid of the boxes? They said, sure, you're saving us the trouble of hiring someone to go pick them up. And we gave them all out. We gave them all out the next week. This year we're doing it all summer long, so it's gonna start right after school lets out, and it's gonna end right before, in about a week before school lets in. I mean, that's another restriction they have, is that we can't give out the boxes, within a week of school starting. So I haven't gotten formal confirmation that that is the plan for the summer reading program. I said it was a big success. I think that there's going to be a high need for it this summer. So
And it's just show up and first come, first serve, or do they have to
Yes.
register to receive?
you don't have to register to receive it. We do have them. We have this form or like a roster,
Mhm.
and they have to. The parent has to sign, and then they have to list every child that's receiving the bills. And we turn that into the food bank, and the food bank turns that into the Department of Agriculture.
And it's one per child.
One per child under the age of 18. I'm sorry, I should correct myself, 18 or under. And the children do not have to be present to get it. So if someone shows, and it's happened a lot last year, someone shows up and says, I have 3 kids, we say, sure, just write down the name of your 3 kids. We mark the days that they got fed, and we carried 3 boxes of food out in their car.
So it would be beneficial if you had volunteers that were able to come and help give out the food.
Yes, and we did a little bit of that last year. Last year we had the volunteers helped me carry it, because what they did is they would just drop off a pallet in the lobby. So the volunteers helped us. Which also, if anybody wants a pallet, there's going to be a free pallet once a week in the parking lot here at the library. The volunteers.
Clarify, empty pallet.
Empty
A free
pallet.
empty pallet.
Empty pallet, yes. I should. That reminds me. I used to work at a library in a shopping mall, and for some reason we had a subscription to the Oklahoman. The person that delivered the paper did not put it in the book drop, but would just lay it in front of the library doors, which makes a little bit of sense. But we went through like a couple of weeks where we didn't get the paper, and we thought maybe the carrier was ill, maybe it was a substitute carrier, maybe it was getting delivered to another business, until one of the employees came in a little bit early, and those 2 elderly gentlemen just come by in front of the library, pick up the paper, and move off. And he opened up the door and was like, is that all paper? It's like, no, it's the free newspaper that's here every day.
Well, no, actually.
Yeah. I was like, that's
Oh my
not
goodness, how
paper.
funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So expanding it to all summer.
We are, yeah.
Instead of just during the
Correct.
reading program. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
That
amazing.
is wonderful.
Yeah, that is, it's a great program. They do a really good job with it.
So if anyone wants to volunteer to help, they can contact you
Yes.
directly and. Okay, great.
Yeah. You don't know how many
And
volunteers?
that's to unload or to hand out? as well, or I know we spoke about that a little bit.
Yeah, so generally we have team volunteers here in the morning, and there's not a lot of people coming into the library, so there's usually one or two of those that are available to help me unload. And also what we're gonna do is, we need to keep the food more than 6 inches above the ground. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna find and clean out my office, and we're gonna set up some of these tables in my office and just stack the boxes on there. That way they're not immediately accessible by patrons, and it'll also be a lot easier to grab the boxes from my office
Instead of coming in
instead of coming here, going through that hallway and
Right.
carrying it out. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
Fingers crossed.
All right, well, thank you so much for the
Yeah.
updates on that. So next, we have the Guthrie Library Strategic Plan update.
All right. So my big question for y'all is, did you get that thing I sent you?
The Google
I
form?
did.
Yes.
I started to go through it and then I got busy.
I was just looking at it,
Uh-huh.
and it's the same question over and over.
Okay.
Was it
So
supposed to
I
be?
didn't know if it was supposed to be that way,
It
if
is
it's like
supposed-
each person
yeah.
has,
Okay.
you can see.
This is the
their-
reason I want to send it out to a small group of people first, to make sure, because you cannot set up the Google form just like my worksheet. On the worksheet, it has the target audience on the left-hand column and the benefit on the right-hand column. And I probably spent like 2 days trying to figure out how to make one question show up on the left-hand side and another question show up on the right-hand side. Apparently, if there is a way to do it, it's beyond my expertise. So that's why it was done with our audience benefit. And in the description, I wanted to make it clear that you could fill out as many of those spaces as you want, or as little of those spaces as you want. So that's telling me that I definitely need to go through and at least clarify those instructions a little bit before I start sending it out.
Yes, yes, definitely, because it just looks like it accidentally copied the same question.
Yeah, I was worried about that when I looked at that.
Several times.
Will we be able to see other people's submission?
So the way the form works is that once you fill out the form and hit submit, it'll populate in a spreadsheet that only the staff can access.
Maybe you could do the question, will adults over 60 benefit by being in the greater Guthrie community? And then the next
Okay.
question, will adults 40 to 60, or whatever, and give them those choices, and then you could put an other, will other people benefit?
Yeah.
Something like that, so that it's clear that you're asking, do you think this group of people will benefit from being in the greater Guthrie community?
Okay, I may reword that.
Something like that.
I do like whoever's filling out the form to be able to identify whatever, because they can look at the group that we haven't.
Right,
Which
you
is why
could,
you got that
you could
other
provide a
part.
couple of,
Yeah.
you could provide a couple of spaces for other,
Or at least the first couple be seniors, children,
yes, so that
families.
they get an idea of what you're looking for.
Okay.
Because in this, like we said, it just says who will benefit.
Yes.
Everyone?
Yeah.
And you're not really sure what you're looking for. So
Okay.
I think if you give a few, broad categories, then give them a choice to put more specific. Are there any more specific demographics or something that you feel would benefit by being in the good, something like that?
Great idea. And then on the first sentence, I think it should be 10 years from now
Oh.
instead of 10 years.
Yes.
I had written down a lot of little things and I forgot to send that to you.
That's no problem.
That was one of the things.
Yeah, the thing went through more than one revision, so it was another thing I wanted someone to go through and
Sure.
English teacher it a little bit. Okay, awesome, thank you.
I'll send you my notes on that.
Yeah, you too.
I apologize, things just got a little.
I know. I will be honest with you, I almost forgot that this week.
if you don't say it.
Yeah.
It was one of those things I was in the shower in the morning. I was like, oh, I've got a meeting. I need to practice. And just to confirm, we are not doing the April meeting. I was like,
Correct.
8-9. Okay. Yeah, typically, because we do it every third week, that always falls within 89ers, which 89ers is right there. And that means there is no parking, no nothing, and the bathrooms are a mess. So every year we're like, why do we meet on 89ers Day? So
Right.
this time we were smart enough to just not do it on 89ers, do it in April.
I
Well,
think that's smart.
because we're meeting every month now,
Yeah,
it's not like it'll be 6 months between
correct.
meetings, where before it would have been a whole half a year
Yeah.
between, between the two meetings,
I
so
agree.
it makes it easier to be able to say, let's just skip that one.
Mhm. And so that makes the May one, let's just make sure, because I know that we've got graduations and things.
Oh,
So that would be
which we would need the dates because those do go on the
15.
website.
May
So,
15th.
Yeah,
sure.
I think that should be fine.
I think so too. I imagine graduation will be probably that next week, wouldn't it?
Right.
Sometime from 20, 22, 23. Somewhere around in there.
The 21st, maybe?
For
For May,
For, yeah, the third Wednesday.
Oh, it is, yeah, I was looking at.
you got it, 21st.
Thank you.
Does your calendar start on Monday?
It starts on Sunday.
Mine
but-
started on Monday and I was
was
off
on
the
Thursday.
okay.
So yeah, so it'd be the 21st. I think that should be fine. Let's see. I have a theater performance, my daughter does that,
Okay.
but I think it won't interfere, so.
And I'm pretty sure my wife works at one of the tour cast. Want to make sure that their ceremonies is done on that day.
Yep. Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to check the school calendar real quick, just in case. Boys, quit, please. Oh, stop it. Graduation is the 16th.
Okay.
So, the 21st has nothing on it.
Fantastic. All right.
So
Stop playing.
we went over
Sit
the,
down.
the thing you had sent out to
Mhm.
everyone. Do you have any other updates?
That's it. So what's going to happen as soon as I get that call, I should send out. I have the list of folks I'm going to send it to. I'll give it a couple weeks for people to fill out the form, and then I'll go to that spreadsheet that it dumps all the answers into, and I'll be able to brief you on basically the results of that. And then we're going to use those results to hammer down our service priorities. Yeah.
All right, and any new notes about the student?
No, I was actually just thinking about her this morning. I should probably follow up on her.
So maybe when we meet in May, you might.
Okay.
have a look. Okay. Well, do we have any other questions or?
Do we have any public comments?
Yeah.
Just want to say I'm with the Friends of the Library and have been there for about 6 months. And I know our goal in life is to support you guys and your efforts. So I'm still trying to learn all the things that we do, all things you do, all things we do. So but I'm sure we have a bunch of really new volunteers.
Yeah.
It's really expanded this past 6 months. So whatever you guys need, hopefully we can help you in any way if there's something you need.
And I'm not joking that I meet with other library directors pretty frequently. I do nothing but brag about how great my Friends of the Library organization is.
Yeah.
Not that every library director complains about their friends, but I have heard complaints before, and I just have to oh, that's bad for you. I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
My guys are cool.
So I know Cameron comes to see our board meeting periodically, so we get some communication, but, and I think I'll try to come, not every meeting, but
Yeah.
every so often, kind of see what's going on, and certainly feel free, if there's something we can do,
Oh,
let us
absolutely.
know.
Yeah.
When are your regular meetings?
It's
It's the
the,
first Saturday.
it's the first Saturday?
Yes.
Okay.
First Saturday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's 10 o'clock,
Yeah.
Is that here?
right here?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, any other public comments? All right. Well then, meeting is adjourned.